You've just landed on the Coolest People in the World podcast, a show that features stories of cool people doing really cool things. From business, art, and travel to lifestyle, mental health and family, and everything in between. Join host Crystal J. Bailey as she introduces you to some of the coolest people in the world. Here's Crystal.
What's up, Jose? Hi. I never know how to kick it off. So it's always like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 countdown and you're on. And I'm like, stage fright.
Yeah.
But you, my acting friend, you don't have stage fright. So welcome back, I should say, to the coolest people in the world. How's your day going?
My day is going great. Busy. It's crazy because my day now starts just because I'm dealing with different projects in different time zones. So my day started at 3 a.m. You know what I mean?
Geez.
So it's yeah. So we're kind of trying to move things around and just stay with the flow of what's happening.
So we're going to do something a little bit different today, but I want to kind of set the stage. We have sat down before, you and I already know a lot of your story. But so to whoever's watching, so Jose reached out to me. I've done writing projects for Jose over the last couple years for his acting career, which is what we're talking about,
right?
Which is why he's up and, being a superstar. But he recently reached out to me to write another article for him to kind of showcase his story. So I thought it would be cool to record our conversation and tell a little bit of our story and just kind of let you guys in on who Jose is and hear our conversation. I have some questions. I'm going to be taking some notes, and then you can kind of see on the other side of this how I work my magic, and you'll see the end result of the article that's going to, excuse me, that is going to be published in Action.
Action Martial Arts Magazine. Yeah,
Action Martial Arts Magazine. So all that, I'll do a brief introduction, and then I'm going to really let you talk because I want to be able to take notes and kind of just ask you questions. So.
Okay.
But Jose is a father. He's like the ultimate karate kid. I don't know what degree black belt are we at this point?
Yeah, so I recently got my 9th degree in Tong Soo-do, Korean martial arts. That's what I've been doing my whole life.
9th degree black belt. He's a community leader. He's run karate schools for years. He's had a huge impact on the youth in his area, and recently stepped into the world of acting, which he's taking those skills of being in the community, of being a father, of being a karate martial arts master, and putting it on the big screen and bringing kind of one of your big dreams to life. So last time, well, let me start with the first time we sat down was that about 2 years ago? How long ago was that?
Yeah, I think it was because we had just released or we're getting ready to release, I think, the film at that point. And we had did a nice interview. You blessed me to have me on the show and had me talk about
even before that, when we first sat down at Applebee's and you were like, "Hey, I have these things going on."
Oh yeah. It's crazy how this whole thing is manifested. And obviously our mutual connections and friends and stuff, which really made this come together. Because if I remember correctly, you helped with an article. That's how this whole thing started.
I originally met you, I want to say it was about 3 years ago, I guess, at this point. So because I wrote for your magazine, your martial arts magazine, I wrote an article about bullying.
Yeah.
And then fast forward, you had asked me, I want to say it was about 2.5 to 3 years ago.
Yeah, it was after that because you had, your talent for writing is amazing. You're a great storyteller. And I love the article that you did. And, I was like, man, there's got to be a way that we can connect, because I'm trying to connect, right? I try to connect the dots as far as, hey, this person's really good at this. Maybe we can network. Maybe we could do something. And, here we are, 3 years later and, doing this again on a Wednesday afternoon,
Which I just think it's so cool because that was also probably a random Wednesday afternoon. And I had no idea. You were like, just come sit down with me. I got to tell you about some things I'm working on. Like, I don't even know how it works together, but I might need you to write a press release. And also maybe just keep your passport on hand because I don't know what's about to happen.
Right.
And I will always remember that. I'm like, all right, like, we'll just see where it goes. And kind of life took over and went, but you went on and did the damn thing. So you were telling me about your movie Killer X that was coming out. It was kind of just unfolding. You were just getting the news that different actors were getting involved. So, and now fast forward, you have Killer X2 coming out and another show, City of Honor. So I'm going to pass the mic and let you do your thing, but kind of just tell me your story, how we got here, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. You know, it's crazy because the journey to Killer X was, I swear it's been something that's like 40 years in the making. You know what I mean? Because like I had always wanted to get involved with acting and movies. And, you know, when I was younger, I did plays and I was involved in the drama club in high school. And I had actually done some pretty good, not pretty good, but pretty big productions. Like they weren't like little things. Like we did like famous Chorus Line. That's a big play that a lot of people have heard of. I played one of the dancers and had lines and stuff. That was kind of the first time I ever did anything like that. And then my junior year of high school, I ended up doing a play, Bye Bye Birdie, and that was like a real iconic. You know, I think it was like 50s, 60s. Dick Van Dyke was in it. They did a movie, and I got casted as Conrad Birdie, who was the singer in the community. So that was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun doing that in high school, and that kind of gave me the itch of like acting and being on stage and stuff like that. So then I ended up getting involved with the play Grease, and I ended up playing Danny Zuko.
You were Danny Zuko? You never told me that.
Yeah. I was Danny Zuko. Well, it's funny because somebody that I'm friends with in high school ended up sending me a picture. They were like, I knew you were going to do
I
something.
want that picture for the blog.
All right. Yeah, it's on stage. I'm singing. I got the leather jacket, so it's funny. And you know, we went to a very diverse high school, so it was funny because like, you know, there was a Puerto Rican Danny Zuko, and then we had an African American Sandy.
I was going to ask you, Sandy.
Yeah. Sandy was African American. It was my girl, Shelly Murray. She was in the band with me. She did drama. Great friend. And it's so funny because, you know, obviously when you graduate from high school, you lose connection with people. Yeah. So I hadn't talked to Shelly for, oh my God, 25 years, maybe 30 years. And she came to the premiere of Killer X in Brooklyn, Jersey. I saw her in line. I was like, oh my God, Shelly, how are you? I haven't seen her. I haven't spoken to her for 30. You know, she's married. She's a doctor. Yeah. You know, we never, I didn't connect with her that way after I went on to college. She went on to college. She went to med school. But it was really, really cool to see her. So, you know, this is not out of the norm. It's funny because some people will be like, well, where did you come from with this? Or how did you get involved with this? And, you know, I did do a little bit of acting before. Yeah. It's not like I never did anything. But again, it was just plays. So then when I went to Penn State University, I ended up taking 2 acting courses. Mm-hmm. And it was funny because I just took them like, one was like intro to acting. And then there was another one that was like monologue work, if I remember correctly. And, you know, I liked it, but I didn't really put like my full focus into it. And I remember the professor yelled at me. I'll never forget this. It was a woman. I think her name was Cynthia. And she was like, Mr. Torres, you need to put more effort into this. You know, you're going to miss this opportunity. I'm like, this lady doesn't know what she's talking about. So then I think she threatened to fail me, if I remember correctly. And I had this monologue that I had to do with this other student, female. And I apologize because I don't remember. It's like a famous thing. It's like a professor and he like, something happens with the female student. Like it's like a well-known thing. I don't remember the name of it. But it's a heavy duty scene. Very emotional scene. She accuses him. She basically says, you know, she's going to tell the public that they hooked up or whatever. So I have to have this scene. I got to pick up this chair. I do this whole thing. And it was funny because the girl that I was acting with, she was so mad because she was a very serious, like, thespian. Like you know, she wanted to go on Broadway. And I was kind of taking it like, whatever, you know. And I remember she was so mean to me. So the day that we had to do the scene in our class, you know, I was like, yeah, I'm going to show her. I'm going to do this. You know what I mean? So I made sure I put everything. And my professor like started like golf clapping. It was like, oh my God, that was wonderful. Da, da, da. So after the class, she talks to me and she's like, you know, if you commit to this, Jose, she goes, I really think you could do something special. And I was like, I just wanted to make sure that I passed, right? I got an A and a B in the class. Yeah. So like, I wasn't concerned, but you know, at the time I was like, hey, maybe this is something, maybe not. So, you know, I had always thought in the back of my head of kind of getting involved with acting, maybe going to LA, maybe doing something, but plans changed. You know, my longtime girlfriend at that time became pregnant with our first boy. And, you know, years had to shift. I originally was going to go to chiropractic school. I was going to go to Georgia Life College, be a chiropractor, and everything changed. You know, I ended up moving back to New Jersey.
How do you fit every role? You're like, I could see you as a chiropractor. I could see you as Danny Zuko. Like,
yeah, right. Oh my
I
God.
love it.
But it's funny because that's what I mean. I was a kinesiology major, studied human movement. I graduated with a bachelor's from Penn State University. And again, I was going to be a chiropractor. That was literally what I was going to do. And, obviously with a, pregnant girlfriend, and I think that was the kind of, right move. So I came home, I started working, I got a couple different jobs. I started like assistant manager in a gym, a fitness center. And that's what I did, my wife was kind of like a stay-home, or my girlfriend who I ended up marrying, my wife Colleen, because we're about to celebrate our 24th year this November that we've been married. So 24 years later, house, 3 kids later, now I decided to be an actor. You know what I mean? So it's funny, but go ahead.
I'm doing an interview. Go ahead.
See, family stuff, right? It's always family stuff. But yeah, so. It was something I thought of, but it didn't fit. It didn't fit at that time. I came home, I worked, I started, doing my thing. And then I ended up, I'd always been a martial artist, fighter, competitor. And I always had a dream about opening up my own karate school. So literally when I came home after college, I partnered with an old high school friend that was, again, part of the plays. And she ended up opening up a dance studio. I don't remember the name of the studio, but she opened up a dance studio and she had reached out to me and she says, "Hey, you're my karate kid." She was like, "Would you be interested in maybe subletting or doing something?" So I ended up getting involved with her and I opened up my first school in 2000 with her. It was part of a dance studio. So I used to walk in and there was these like pink little, I never forget because they used to make fun of me. Like you had to walk into this room where our training was and there was these like pink ballerina slippers that hung from these beads from the ceiling. And that's how you got to the karate floor. And it was just like, yeah, I was only there for 6 months. But that was my humble, karate school beginnings. And, this past Thursday last week, we celebrated 25 years in business. And, I'm very, very proud to say I've been a business owner for 25 years and I've been able to teach, over thousands of students, to be honest, very fortunate.
That's really beautiful. And I totally relate to I just wrote a blog about how life gives you what you want, just not in the way you expected to receive it. My life is similar, different, but same. It's like everything I wanted, life took a detour. I got pregnant in college. Like I was young. You make it do what it needs to do. You do the right thing. And then you look up one day and you're like, but wait a minute, I still want to be, now my dog's knocking at the door.
He wants to be in the interview.
You still like have that dream. And so you took a leap. And so a couple of years ago, you're like, yo, it's in the works. And now it's like actually like full speed ahead and you're the Latin dragon and you're on Cobra Kai and you're like, actually on Cobra Kai. So kind of take me from the start of Killer X. So like you leaped into it and tell me that story.
So what had happened is when the whole world shut down over COVID, I ended up starting my own podcast on Facebook called The Martial Arts Experience. Now, up to that point, I had been in business roughly 20 years. So I had made a lot of contacts with different martial art masters, actors, different people, because I'm in the industry. So I said, listen, I know some heavy duty people. Let me try to see. Everybody was locked in. So I ended up getting some of the Cobra Kai cast, or excuse me, at that time it wasn't Cobra Kai, but Karate Kid cast, Power Rangers. I got different people that were able to come. So I was able to get some pretty premier people to come on at that time and start networking and start building a following. So one of the guests that I had on was an unbelievable guy called William Christopher Ford. William Christopher Ford, I got to be honest with you, and every podcast, every interview, anything I do, I literally have to give him his flowers, his credit, because he set up, I think, the ball of this thing rolling. He never will take the credit, but he put me in contact with the pieces. Correct. He really was the vice. So, we were talking and he was like, well, what do you want to do, Jose? I like your podcast. I like your screen presence. I said, I really want to do a movie, man. I would love to do something. He goes, listen, I'm really good friends with the director. Maybe you should meet him. He's based out of LA. Maybe you guys can work something together. So, it was kind of a leap of faith, but it was funny because I ended up doing a film called 1 out of 100, which Wooly the Bam Johnson, who's another martial artist, ended up producing. And it was kind of a COVID film. Like people still wore masks. Like it was a story about an underdog fighter, and I played the tournament promoter because I run tournaments, so it was very easy for me to do. So I ended up being the tournament promoter, and I had to ad lib and do some things. And there was another director there who ran it, who his name was Robert Parham, very well known independent director. And he pulls me to the side and he's like, "Yo, Jose," he was like, "Here's my number. Let's talk." So I started networking with him, and then we were talking about doing a project. And then I was telling William about the story, and he goes, "Listen, man, I got this guy from LA. He's a good friend of mine. I really think you should connect with him." So I ended up flying out on LA on a whim to be at this festival called the Dragons Fest. And I met with him. I met with Jim Towns. That's his name. Now, Jim had done horror before. He was a big horror guy. He had films distributed by Lionsgate, Asylum. He's got stuff out there. But he was looking to kind of get into the action genre and partner with some people. So right place, right time. I basically kind of sold him what my vision was. Because again, I'm not a spring chicken. It's not like I'm 20 years old. So, I tried to tell him, I was like, look, Liam Neeson's very popular right now. At that time, the Taken films. I said he's an older action guy, and it's believable, right? He's like an everyday guy. I said I can be your. I told Jim, I said I can be your Puerto Rican Liam Neeson. He started laughing. He said, all right, let's put something together. So Jim started developing this story about this retired assassin. Who ends up getting thrown back into the world of chaos because his ex-girlfriend kind of comes back. So the character's name was Victor Reyes, and that's what I did. I became Victor Reyes. And, we produced this independent film. I got independent investors. I kind of took the mantle of producer because I really wanted this project to happen.
Yeah.
Because originally I think Jim was originally going to fund it. And I wanted to kind of, put my sprinkle on it. And Jim was awesome. He's a great collaborator, phenomenal director, editor. Without Jim Towns, I don't get to sit here talking to you because no Killer X, no nothing. So, but yeah, he ended up providing a great opportunity. And to our surprise, I mean, I knew Killer X was going to be, okay. I didn't think it was going to do what it did. But what happened was we started getting the attention of people. They started seeing, the scenes and the acting and some of the fight choreography. And then we started winning awards and putting it in the festivals. Like we did the International Action Festival in Spain. We ended up winning. So that kind of, set things up, Crystal. And now, 2 years later, I'm working on a TV pilot series that's being pitched right now. So I can't officially say anything, but I will tell everybody that they will be able to see it. I would say by probably this summer. That's all.
By this summer on popular streaming networks.
On some popular streaming network, I think they're going to see it. We're kind of in negotiations for this final process now, and then we're going to take it. And this is a series that I created. I wrote it. Basically,
but you're talking about the City of Honor?
City of Honor, I did. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. So it was a concept and a story that I had. I partnered with Jim Towns because he's a great screenplay writer. So I was able to, write my idea, give him the story, and then he kind of transcribed it into a screenplay.
That's awesome. I want to make stories.
Yep. So that's where we're at now. And it's crazy. Just as of yesterday, because we released our teaser about 3 weeks ago. And I ended up entering the teaser as part of a film festival in LA. And we just got notification yesterday that the teaser got accepted for the film festival. So we're, we're starting to make a little bit of noise, and we're moving forward. So City of Honor is hopefully going to be a streaming TV series that we're looking to put out there. Hopefully get it picked up, and then I got like probably 2-3 other films that are kind of in the works. So it's just crazy to be at this point. Yeah.
So I want to talk about like the future so much, but I want to go back because I have a couple questions. So you said you played Victor Reyes, and I've seen the movie, and I can attest to how well you played Victor Reyes. But I want to talk about how much of your life that you told me about before leading to this point, the 24 unexpected years prior to this one, right. How much of that built you to play that character?
It's funny because, Victor was a family guy. And, Victor is trying to move forward from his past. And I feel that's a real character trait because we all do that, right? We're all not the same person we were in our 20s or our 30s or our 40s. So, I try to be, again, that family guy, which I am. I'm a father of 3 boys. I've been married for 24 years, and obviously we don't want to get in trouble with our wives and our significant others. So, I'm very careful of what I try to do. But, Victor was that. Victor loved his wife, but he still cared about this other person from his past. And I related to that in the fact that, with the karate school, I give a little piece of myself to every student that comes in, right? Mm-hmm. So I care about them. I love them. I treat them like family. And if any of those former students or any kid came back to me, and said that they needed help, I would help them. And that's happened over my 25-year career is that, I've had families call me that, hey, my son's got, problem with his girlfriend. Hey, my daughter is, getting beaten up by her boyfriend. Hey, my child's dealing with alcoholism. Can you help us? Yeah. So I end up being this like surrogate dad to a lot of my students. So, I understood, the assignment. I felt I could relate to Victor. Victor, again, I wasn't a killer. So, but, I can relate. No. Yeah. Right. But Victor, Victor was accomplished. He was, he was a kid, was a killer. He was a martial artist. He was a good fighter. And, yes, in my younger days, right, I moved a lot different than I do now in real life and on the movie. But I felt like I could relate to Victor. And there was some awkward moments in the film for Victor, some comedic timing things, which were never intended. Some of the jokes and the things that people laughed at, that wasn't intended to be that way, but that was just, how we delivered those lines and how we did stuff. But yeah, Victor's a very likable, he wants to keep everybody happy. And I think that's, very close to who I am. I try to keep everybody happy.
No, I like them. I like the whole cast. I enjoyed that movie so much. And I could see especially being in an independent film. And like you said, you raised money to produce it. So and with production, I could see it being like huge. I mean, I enjoyed the storyline so much and the characters so much. And I mean, even without the money, it was really, really good.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And so, you also, talking about being a dad, you had your sons acting as well. Talk a little bit about that.
I did. It's funny because, again, this is my journey, right? So, my kids, they end up getting drug all over the world. Wherever I decide to go, I always try to be very family oriented and I bring everybody, I think when I was first married, my wife would come everywhere, but she works, she's a professional. She can't just take off for weeks at a time. So my older son was always my ride or die, then my second son, and now my third son. So, I thought it was very important to get them involved. And originally the idea was just my older son, because he's a very accomplished martial artist. He's a 4th degree master now. He's kind of taking over my business, Team Torres. He's kind of the face of it now. So, and I know we work very well together. So I was like, man, I got to get my older son in there. So he ends up playing a bad guy, Dimitri in the film. And it was a lot of fun because I got to do a fight scene with my son. I got to act with him, which was really cool. But then it was funny because my wife, she was like, we got to get all the boys in there. What are we going to do? We got to get them in. So they were originally going to cast, another boy to play my son. But I was like, you know what? We can have Mason do it, who's my youngest, and Mason is a black belt. Mason can, proficiently do stuff. So Mason was a little bit reluctant. He does not like the fanfare, I think, of cameras and acting and stuff. But he did a good job. I really think his reluctancy and that 10-year-old boy charm that, little boys have, I think really was evident, in the film. And it's funny because I'll tell you, Rios, it's funny. Afterwards, he's like, I'm done with this, Dad. I'm done. You're going to have to kill my character off. I'm not doing part 2. So after we did the premiere and after all his friends started talking about him, then it was, well, hey, Dad, am I going to be part of part 2 now? And I said, wait, I thought we're killing you off. I don't understand. And he was like, oh, well, So, he's definitely, he's definitely a little more into it. And then,
I have a 10-year-old boy, so I get it. I can hear him.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's got to be really cool for him.
And then my middle son is a college athlete. He plays soccer and he's a college student. He's a junior. So his schedule wasn't as, his availability wasn't as good. So we were just able to get him to do a one-liner. He played the soccer coach that subs, and it's like just to get him in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I do say he's my middle son. I did work a deal with him. He's going to play a character. He's going to play a younger character in Killer X2. So he's going to definitely have more.
Ooh, my spidey senses just went up, and I won't spoil anything. So real quick, where can people watch Killer X right now?
Amazing. So Killer X right now is available on multiple platforms. So if you're a streamer and you like to watch, all those different platforms, it's on Prime, it's on Tubi, it's on Roku, it's on Apple TV, it's on Plex, it's on Fossum. We got it on like 6 platforms, which is crazy, right? There's like a little independent film that was made for like, pennies. But it's out there. It's out there on DVD as well. If you're a DVD collector, and apparently there is, because we ended up selling a lot of DVDs, you can buy it on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, and Walmart. That's where our DVD is.
Which you got crazy. It all? Yeah. So far, anyway.
Yeah.
No, I love that. You also, I wanted to go back to the international shows, because you were in a few places besides Spain.
Yes. Yeah. So you're talking about for the movie or just in general?
Well, talk to me about both. I was talking for the movie, but if I'm missing something, tell me.
So So we ended up doing a film festival in Spain. Then we ended up, which is called the Toledo Action Fest. It's a very big like martial arts action film festival. So I thought it was important to get us involved with that. And we ended up winning Best International Picture and Best Action Reel, which was my action scenes kind of complopped together. So people are kind of liking what they're seeing, supposedly. Then we ended up doing 2 international premieres for Killer X, because what we ended up doing is what people call in the industry four-walling, and that's where you self-distribute and show it in a movie theater. So we ended up partnering with the Regal Cinemas. We ended up getting almost 8 theaters that were interested in partnering with us and getting Killer X out. So we ended up doing our first premiere in Burlington, New Jersey. A lot of people came. We did like 514 tickets. It was crazy.
Which was cool. I just want to pause because you featured a lot of that area, if I'm not mistaken, in the movie.
Yeah. It was kind of a throwback to everybody. You know what I mean? Like kind of a big thank you. So, but we ended up doing 2 international premieres. Our first international premiere was in Trinidad and Tobago, which is in the Caribbean, right above South America. I've been going there for the last probably 10 to 15 years. I teach martial arts out there, so it was an easy fit. And then this past November, we did our European screening, and we ended up doing in the Netherlands. We actually showed it in Rotterdam at the Kino Theater.
I love that. That's so cool. You're so cool. Are your kids, so the youngest wants to be in the next one, but you're not sure about the other 2?
Yeah, well, unfortunately my eldest, I don't want to spoil it, but his character's not around after the first one. So the oldest one, I got to figure out something else for him. Like I said, the middle one is definitely going to be part of it. And then the youngest, Max, Max is still there. So Max is going to be there. It'll be, we'll see how much, the script's already been written. So we're kind of working on all the pre-production stuff now. Just finalizing finances, locations, and the cast and stuff. We're hoping.
So when do you? I'm sorry, I missed the last part. I didn't mean to cut you off.
We're hoping to start filming this summer. That's the game plan.
Start filming this summer. Yep. So that, I know it's probably hard to say, but when do you anticipate then release?
The goal would be 2026. The film would come out 2026. That's the game plan, which would be 2 years after the first one, which was always the game plan. So we just got to make sure this thing happens. Yeah. So originally we were going to try to do like a late spring release, but I think we're going to end up doing either a summer or fall 2026 release. Again, as long as everything goes well,
And are you expecting all the same characters?
So some of them are returning. Obviously the ones that aren't dead because it's an assassin movie. But there's going to be a lot of there's a lot of new characters. We have some pretty premier, well-known actors that are coming aboard now because people liked, the first one. So there's some cameos that are going to happen that are going to people like, wait a second, I've seen that guy in something else, So it's been good. It's been a pretty good journey, but I'm excited to start production on Killer X2.
I'm going to jump into Killer X2, which you just took me on a journey because I said you never know, which made me think about Cobra Kai because people always come back from the dead on Cobra Kai.
Right.
But you were actually just in Cobra Kai. Can we talk about that?
Yeah. It's funny. So I was a Sakai Taikai judge. And it was a last minute thing. A buddy of mine sent me, they were looking for casting for the Spanish coach for the Spain team. Mm-hmm. And so I put in, but I ended up getting it like much, much later. I think it had already been out for weeks. So their casting department have reached out to me and said, hey, look, we've already casted for this, but we need judges. We need some background. We need this, we need that. I mean, who doesn't want to be involved with Cobra Kai? So I was like, hell yeah, I'll do it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I ended up connecting with a good friend of mine, one of my former students, Samantha Gardella, who lives in Atlanta. She's actually in the film industry. So I was able to kind of, crash there because I went out there for almost 2.5 weeks and
That's
I got
cool.
to film, as part of the tournament. So great learning experience, being on a big Netflix show, a big budget. It's a shame because I had some really good shots. And I was for sure like I was going to be in the trailer and all this other stuff because I was the main judge on the stage. So I had a lot of action and happening to me. But unfortunately, a lot of those things got, cut out. So I mean,
right?
You can see me. You can definitely see me.
I saw you.
Yeah.
I went on and I took a picture.
Yeah. But there was like, I had like some actual pretty featured stuff. And, unfortunately it didn't make it in. But again, awesome experience. And then my buddy, William Christopher Ford, ended up getting recasted. They brought his character back from Karate Kid 3. So that was a surreal moment for me. I got to tell you, I'm on the set. I'm sitting at the Sekai Tekai, judges table. I'm talking to the other actors. We're watching something. And I get a text. And the text is like, hey, sir, how you doing? And I'm like, oh, I got to tell him that I'm part of this show because I had no idea they brought his character back. So I'm like, hey, William, you're never going to believe where I am. And he goes, oh, I believe I can. And he ends up sending me a picture of me sitting at the stage. And I'm like, holy shit. You're like, where are you? And he goes, I'm behind you. So he was up in the rafters on the stage. And I look up and it was just like, oh my God, it was awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. Neat. So we had lunch together. We got to eat and hung out a little bit. And that meant a lot to me because William got me into this whole world. You know what I mean? I wasn't into this world without him.
I love that so much. When I saw him actually on the last season, because the last time we did an interview, he actually followed the podcast on Instagram. And when I saw him on TV, I was like, oh, he follows me. I know him. That's my friend's friend.
He is such, no, I'm going to tell you, he's how you meet people? Like, listen, there's a lot of great people, right? He's a good human being. Like, he is just like he checks up on me. He shares my stuff. He asks for the kids. Like, oh my God, amazing human being. Not just like, oh yeah, he's an actor. He's cool. No, he's a great human being. And honestly, I would not be in this position without. He'll say no. He'll say no. He's like, oh, Jose, don't. Humble. Yeah, he's a very humble guy. But yeah, without him connecting the dots, I definitely don't have any of this stuff.
I love that. Is there anybody that you've worked with so far that's been like a little surreal?
Over my martial arts career, I've gotten to meet a lot of celebrities, right? A couple years ago, I got to meet Chuck Norris. He's the joke, he's the GOAT. Right. He's the GOAT, right? He's he's the top of Mount Olympus, right? Because Bruce Lee's not alive, none of these guys. And it was crazy because, I wasn't, it was really cool to meet him, but I wasn't like fangirling over him, because I met some other people, I met Arnold Schwarzenegger at his event in Ohio. I was a tournament promoter of the Taekwondo, so I was able to actually meet him. I shook his hand, which was cool. But like, it's funny because I have met over my career per se, right? Even before the acting thing, some different celebrities, and I don't always have a great story about that. Some people are not very nice. So, my as I'm older now, you know what I mean? My fan side of me, because if I met these people in my 20s or like when I was a teenager, I'd be like, I'd be screaming. But, now it's just kind of like, oh, he's cool, and then I kind of judge them for who they are, not what they've done. You know what I mean? So how do they treat me, the peon, but it's been
William
cool.
Christopher Ford is top of the list.
Yes. William's genuine no matter what. Like, William doesn't care if you're a movie star or not. He's going to just treat you as a human being. And that's what means the most. But it's funny now because as now I become making more moves, right? Now I'm getting in contact with so many different people. So I'll be honest with you, I still kind of keep in check, where I am, who I am, how they treated me before versus how they treat me now. So, it's definitely been an interesting journey.
Now that you're the Latin Dragon, right?
I didn't start that. I did not start that. So I got to tell everybody. So the Latin Dragon came from, so the crazy thing is there's an original Latin Dragon. There was a movie called The Latin Dragon. The actor was Fabian Carrillo. He was based out of New Jersey. Carrillo, excuse me. Very sweet man, because he and I have actually recently connected as well. Which
I love that.
Of course, right? So Fabian's a great guy, actor, big star back in the day. So But again, on a cultural standpoint, there's kind of, I don't want to say there's not, but there's very small amount of, let's say Latino action guys. So I didn't realize what my impact with Killer X would be until I started doing the screenings. And I had different, Latino families coming up to me and talking to me about it and what it meant to them. I had a father in York, Pennsylvania come up to me and say, I pray for you and I hope everything in your dreams, you get what you want, because it's so important that my 10-year-old son, this is what the man said to me, gave me goosebumps. I never forget this.
It's giving me goosebumps.
He said, it meant the world to me for my son to see a Puerto Rican guy on the screen that wasn't a rapist, a criminal, a drug dealer. You were the hero. He goes, that meant so much to me. He goes, I want you to be a superstar. I wish you the best. I'm going to pray for you. And I gave, he gave me a hug. I took pictures with him and his son. And that resonated with me because that is the truth. Most, Latin characters, men, that's how they're portrayed. It's the truth.
Right.
They are 100%.
Right. No, you're not wrong.
You know what I mean? So this journey now, I kind of have a vision. It's almost like a vision quest. So it's funny because as I started building up my social media following, and again, I don't have 1 million followers, not yet, but that, right? I have, a little bit more people follow me now. And my good friend, Mohamed Kisi, who was formerly known as Michel Kisi, he was Jean-Claude Van Damme's best friend. He was a kickboxer, blood sport, Lionheart. And on social media, when I got, I posted the poster for Killer X, it was after, I think, the first premiere. And that night he told me, he goes, Jose, you have it. He goes, you're going to make it. You have it. So then the next day when we posted out of it, he goes, that's the Latin Dragon. And then a couple other people started picking it up. So then some of the other Latino instructors that I know, New Jersey, New York, they started Latin Dragon, Latin Dragon, Latin Dragon. So then a couple people talked about it. Now it's not like 100, 1,000 people, but there's a handful, there's some people that have been talking about it, and people like, I guess the tone of it, the ring of it, and they're kind of rolling with it.
I like it. I just think it's just so crazy. For me, I will never forget that meeting. I'll never forget sitting in Applebee's over a margarita and a Caesar salad and being like, all right, and not for nothing. It wasn't, I've always believed in you, but you hear so many people say oh, I want to do this, or I'm going to do this, or I have this idea or whatever. But it has been so cool to witness from that conversation and hearing, and it really was just this big heart spill of your dreams and also I'm working with this, and you were really excited and you're still excited, which is how you're living in this alignment and you're influencing people and you're getting prayers over you. This matters. This work matters. So right. It's been an honor to really witness it.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I want to get into Killer X too. So I know we kind of talked about it, but is there anything that I didn't specifically ask or you didn't say that we should look forward to with it?
You know what? This is going to be, Killer X 2 is going to be more of I don't want to say Hollywood looking, but it's, first one was a low budget film. We didn't have a lot of money. There wasn't a lot of resources, and we filmed it very locally. Killer X 2 is going to be an international globe-trotting journey for Victor. I will release, because I've already put it publicly out there, we have filming that's going to be taking place in Trinidad and Tobago. We have filming that's obviously back in Jersey and Pennsylvania, but we're also going to be doing filming in Korea. So there's really going to be some amazing landscapes and backdrops and background that's really going to give, Killer X 2 a different look, a different feel, more big budget, bigger fight scenes. There's going to be some really, really cool fight scenes. There's going to be kind of a prison involved with something. And again, without, kind of getting everything involved, but that's about as much as I can say, but it's definitely going to have a different look. It's a darker look. Killer X 2 is going to be a darker look. It's not going to be, it'll still be family friendly, right? It's still, it's not going to be an R-rated. At least I don't think so. I think it'll be PG-13. We try to keep it as status quo as possible, but we're going to definitely have a darker, more look to it and feel to it, and it's going to be gritty. It's going to be gritty, and I think people
became Bad Boys for Life.
Yeah, exactly. It's
tell you, I'm here for this acting career because you could be a whole lot of different things. When the Killer X journey, if the Killer X journey eventually comes to an end, and you're not an assassin, I feel like you could be a lot of different things.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy. So like in my new project, City of Honor, and I don't want to jump ahead, I'm playing the detective.
No, go ahead, because I was going there. So tell me.
Okay. So like, in City of Honor, I play the character Dante Perez. He's a detective sergeant. He's the head of the West End Task Force, which is the special task force that, deals with crimes. And, he's a detective. He's a single father. He's the father of a daughter. He's dealing with, a lot of demons. And I can't go too far into it, but
Right.
he's a very complex character. He's badass. He's definitely more badass than Victor. Victor was like the reluctant kind of hero, because again, he was out of it. He hasn't been assassin for 10 years, right? He's like a dad. He's fixing cars, but Dante's in the mix, and Dante's a broken character because he went through some severe tragedy, and now he's a single father. And he doesn't always listen. He doesn't follow the rules. He gets to be the cool guy. He's in that gray area. He wears the leather jacket. This character is totally different than Victor Reyes. Totally different. He's badass. I'll be honest with you. He's pretty badass. Like, he's gonna have some fans. I think people are gonna like Dante.
I can't wait to. I'm sorry. I'm like deciding what I want to say or ask you, but I can't wait for the nicknames to come out of Dante one. To see who the world makes you.
Yeah, right. He's badass. I'm telling you right now, Dante's smooth. Dante's like action. Listen,
your demeanor changes when you talk about Dante from Victor.
Yeah. Victor's like, he's like the dad. He's cool. Dante's like this badass dude. But
oh my god,
yeah. I like him. I like his character's been the experience filming City of Honor for me has really been a full circle, because there's like, I don't want to say true acting, but there's so many layers to the character. And like, I really had to kind of get into it. But the cool part about it, Crystal, was like, I wrote him. I know how he is. I know what he's supposed to be. I'm not interpreting somebody else's story.
Right.
I wrote the story, so I know what he's supposed to do, and I know where his character is going to go. And having that was so powerful, in doing all my scenes. And I had so much fun filming. I got to be honest with you. My experience with this one was just like, not that Killer X wasn't, but this one I was more comfortable. I was more seasoned, and it was powerful. I mean, some of the stills, I'm like they sent me some of the stills from the thing, and I posted them, and I'm like, damn, that dude looks serious. You know what I mean? Like, it's exciting. No, it's very, very exciting.
No, I love that.
Yeah.
So how many, you said that's a series, so how many episodes are we looking for?
Season one, the game plan for season one is to be 6 episodes. They're going to be roughly about an hour long. So they're going to be, they're meaty episodes. And, it's telling the story of the West End Task Force. So there's, 5 different detectives. There's a DA, there's an ADA. There is the police chief, or the commander, we refer to him as, Commander Vanderbosch. And, we were able to bring some heavy hitters. So very pleased that one of the detectives is being played by Marcus Taylor, who played Suge Knight in Straight Outta Compton. Great human being. He's part of our project. We have our bad guy, Damian James. That's being played by Miguel Nunez. And Miguel Nunez is known for, what is it? Dawn of the Dead, Friday the 13th, Joanna Man. He's on T's Family Business right now. He's a legend. He's been around a long time.
I met him with you.
Yes, we met him. Right, which is crazy how these connections happen.
Right.
It's nuts. But the kicker to this one is the newest person that we added. For all my Real Housewives of New Jersey fans, I had the pleasure of meeting and working with Amber Marchese. And Amber Marchese was one of the Real Housewives with her husband, Jim. And I'm telling you, they were sweet, man. Really wonderful people,
So they're in it? They're in the...
So Amber plays the mayor of West End City.
Oh, shit.
So she actually, if you watch the teaser, you will see her at the end kind of bringing this glass of like it's brandy or something up. She's at the very, very end of the teaser, Amber. Yeah. So we're excited. I mean, we got some really cool people. Another known actor, one of the detectives is Ray Rivera. He's played by Felix Cortez. Felix Cortez is a stuntman actor. He just did Cobra Kai. I saw him on Cobra Kai. He actually locks up Daniel in the dog cage. So if people remember that scene, episode 9 or whatever. That's him. So, we got 4 named people, very talented. I got to be honest with you. We have an ADA being played by Shannon Bogan, a good friend of mine. We have Commander Vandervosh being played by Lawrence Waller. Lawrence is an up-and-coming stunt guy. Danielle Harper plays the ADA Gabriella Asante. She's phenomenal. I love working with her. She's just a phenomenal talent. Our female detective is played by an actress named Tara London. She's really, really good as well. I think people are going to like seeing her in that role. But it's a good cast. I think very diverse. We literally have every flavor that's out there on that cast.
You can write me in when you're ready. I already told you. I'll shave my head again for it too if you need me to.
Nice.
Tell you when you're writing, next time you're writing a script, you're writing a character, and you're like, "Oh, Chris will be good at this one." I want you to call me.
Got you. Yes.
All right. What else did I want to ask you? So that's coming out June-ish, maybe.
Yeah, unofficially, I want to say between June and July. I believe it's going to be available. The first episode will be available for people to see.
Did you ever think this is where you'd be by now?
No. I still think, there's still sometimes I pinch myself because I'm like, and again, in the grand scheme of things, I think success has a specific barometer for certain people, right? So if you complete a task, that's successful, whether you make money or not. If you get to say, hey, I did a movie from beginning, that's success, and I think that I'm learning through the process of like, hey, what's this achievable goal? What's this reach goal? What can we do? What we can't do? And sometimes I'm probably my biggest, critic. Sometimes I have imposter syndrome where I'm like, I shouldn't be doing this, or I'm not there.
Normal.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like in City of Honor, I'm a co-director. I'm literally I'm co-director, which I didn't think I could do, and I'm working with 2 wonderful, wonderful people, Bill Wirtz and Darren Davidson. They're the co-owners of Bold Media. They're the production company that's building City of Honor with me, and they have been unbelievable to me. I mean, from just working together and their advice and their support, they've really given me the confidence to like, hey, Jose, you can do this, and they've been awesome to work with. They really have. Yeah.
That's really cool. If you could go back to that table I've been talking about at Applebee's, what would you say to that version of yourself?
Man, I don't know. That's a hard thing. I don't know. It's funny because I feel like people ask you like, hey, would you have changed this? Right? Would you do this different? Would you do that? I don't know. Sometimes we second guess, right? We Monday morning quarterback and we're like, we should have done this, or I should have done that, or, I should have stepped in more. I should have figured out some way to, hire a team or do this. But I don't know if I would have fought as hard. I don't know if my journey would have literally, again, taken me here today to talk to you, So I don't know. So I don't think I would change anything. I wouldn't. I kind of like where we're going. Would I like to be a little more successful? Of course, everybody would, but to even be in the conversation is a dream come true,
Would you give yourself any sort of advice, that younger you, a couple years ago you?
Try not to wear your heart on your sleeve. My biggest fault, I have 2 big faults. One is I trust everyone. I think everybody's the good people. They're never going to hurt you, and and that's kind of like, that's like my biggest downfall. And then I go all in. My biggest thing is I go all in. So if you're like, hey, help me build this house, I'm like, perfect, let's go. I'm going to get calm. I'm going to do this. I'm going to find this. And that's just me. That's like my, adult ADD or whatever, that they talk about. Like that's what I feel I have. I'm all in, and there's pros and cons to that. Sometimes that is exhausting, or, sometimes we take maybe risks that you're not supposed to, but I feel like you have to take risks sometimes to get what you want.
Well, you're an entrepreneur too. It's the nature of the way we're wired. But how do you feel like the training that you got, even if like the mental training, the personal, what do you call it, self-mastery from karate, like how do you feel that journey has like served you, and just on a personal note, where you're at?
I think that it has. Honestly, I don't think I would be able to be at this point if I was not where I was in my martial arts journey, from rank, from traveling, from teaching, It's given me that self-confidence and that self-discipline to try, as well as to try very well calculated, right? Like I don't make moves now recklessly. Like I'm not just like, oh yeah, I'm going to get involved with this. No, it has to be calculated. It has to be disciplined. It has to be organized. And I think that's why, some of these opportunities are coming up because we're putting ourselves in a right position, to hopefully succeed, right? That's what you're hoping. You're hoping you succeed. But, that confidence is really because you got to have tough skin on this. Like to put yourself on screen and everybody's going to look at you and they're going to tear you apart. It's a lot of confidence. That's serious ego. Like you really got to be like, it's funny because as we're going through the process, I watch Killer X. I rip that film apart all the time. I'm like, why did I do this? Why did we do this? Right? But now hindsight's 2020, I try not to make those mistakes with my next project, I need to focus on this or my look or my face or, different things that I'm doing, the intensity, certain things that we didn't do, I want to try to fix. But I think the discipline and the self, reflection and understanding and being kind of like, not woosah, but kind of like, I'm okay with myself. I'm okay in my skin, and I think that's what's helped me get to this point.
I love it. I don't think I have any other questions except the question I definitely have to ask you, which is funny because I was thinking about this, and the first time I asked you, you were like, "Oh, I don't know," but I feel like you're going to answer differently this time. But my question for you is, when do you feel like the coolest person in the world?
I think I will tell you that last Thursday when I did my 25-year anniversary, and I know that's outside of this, but it's still part of this journey.
It's your world.
Yeah. I felt like, wow, this was this 25-year journey. I found my first student. I found my first black belt, and they came to the banquet. That meant so much to me because I'm like, man, we did it. We went on this journey. And yes, I did. That was more of a self-reflection and kind of like, okay, this journey meant something. Like, here we go. This is what I have. This is what was built from all that 25 years. Because as you're going through stuff, sometimes you never realize, what it means to other people or what it means to you,
Right.
And having that feeling, and being able to work with that now is definitely, it's empowering. Honestly, it's so empowering. So I would say, I said probably last Thursday was probably the coolest day of my life. Honestly, that and obviously being a father, but and I think
that's a given. You're allowed to say that.
Yeah.
No, that's because there was a point in your life where you weren't a father too. So like that is allowed to be the coolest part of your life because that's what you built. And like, it's not taking away. I know we always do that. I do that too. Outside of being a mom, like of course we know that's a really cool day. You brought humans into the world,
exactly.
but like,
exactly.
But to build something like that and to have it mean so much. And, one of the things I've been recognizing in my life is just what a gift retrospect is. Right. Just having 25 years to look back on and the relationships you've built in and of itself is such a gift. So congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. The one thing I did want to cover because I know Action had asked me about it, has been the transformation of Jose Torres. So from a visual standpoint, I get asked a lot of people like now, they're like, oh, well, what are you doing? How are you training? You lost a lot of weight. Are you on Ozempic? So it's funny. I would get pissed when people would tell me that because I'm like training 2.5 hours every day. I get up, I go to the gym at 5 a.m. Like I'm kicking ass. I am not doing anything else, but what happened was I had a gallbladder scare in August and I've always yo-yoed up 20, down 20, up 30, like bad. And I really got bad after my parents passed away because I felt, the stress and just emotionally where I was, I couldn't get it together, honestly. And I realized that, even with the success of Killer X, because I lost weight for Killer X, but I didn't lose that much weight. Right. Yeah. So I think to do Killer X, might have lost maybe 30 pounds to do that, maybe 25. And then even towards the end of the filming, I started kind of getting a little bit bigger because I wasn't really eating, the way that I was supposed to. And then in August, I ended up getting a scare with my gallbladder. So I totally changed, but that pain was ungodly. So I changed all of my stuff, no red meat, watching the sugar, no more sodas, no more this, no more that. But I did it cold turkey. And what happened was my body responded so well. When I'm telling you, it was like week to week. Like I was almost nervous because I kept going to the doctors, get my blood tested, get everything. And they're like, man, whatever you're doing, like, keep it up. Your levels are good. This is that, I was on medicine. I was on all kind of stuff. And now, we're almost 9 months away. I've dropped probably 70, I think it's like 72 pounds where I'm at now.
Good for you.
Yeah. But I feel great. You know what I mean? Like I'm not, and I've done it. Yes, it seems fast, but at the same point, I feel like I was carrying around a lot of nonsense. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, but I'm still training, I'm lifting heavy. I do, a lot of cardio, a lot of weights and stuff like that. But that's kind of empowered me physically and mentally as well, because I feel better about myself. Go to the gym, I do my thing, and I keep moving.
Right. When you're living in your truth and your purpose too, and like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, I feel like the weight falls off. I yo-yo too, and I've like in my recent years noticed like right now I'm a little heavier than I would like to be, but I know like exactly mentally and emotionally how I got here. Whereas like a couple years ago, like I lost, I don't know, probably like 60, 70 pounds. And people were like, are you on Ozempic? And I'm like, no, I'm just taking care of myself, but it was that I was writing. I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. I was, and when I feel like we are living in alignment with yourself, like your body and your mind, everything kind of regulates also.
Yeah. It's so true. And, but again, like I said, I got diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. I'm on a medicine as Vola, where I have to get infusions every 6 weeks, because sometimes I'll wake up, my hand is cramped and stuff. And now that hasn't happened recently because I'm a lot thinner now. However, I still have to get this medicine. So the thing that I've been able to see is I don't have the same joint pain. I don't have the same swelling, because again, I'm not having the sugary drinks. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that.
You're not eating inflammatory food.
I'm not eating inflammatory food. Like, now I'm not going to lie to everybody. Like I stopped eating pizza for like 6-7 months. And then we just kind of reintroduced it. Like that was our thing on Friday nights. You know what I mean? So but instead of having a whole pizza pie, I might have one slice now. You know what I mean? But I stay. But again, I work out. I do the sauna. I swear to you, man, older guys out there, I'm telling you right now, sauna is it. You got to sit in the sauna for like 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Detox.
That's it.
I'm telling you, that's the secret. And I switched up. Everybody does weights, then cardio. And I reversed it. And I do sauna, cardio, then my weight training. And I'm telling you, I mean, I went from like my biggest, I was big. I was, even before we met, I was big.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's so funny because I don't remember you that way. And it never happens that way, that like.
Yeah, I was big. I mean, from even a jacket standpoint, for the guys, I was probably floating a 55, 56 jacket. You know what I mean? Maybe 58 at my worst, because I was over 300 pounds at one time. Now I didn't, I looked heavy, but I didn't look 300 pounds. But I hold it different because I have like broader shoulders. Like I just have a different look. Yeah. But now, you know what I mean? I'm like a 46, 44 jacket. You know what I mean? Like I just totally different look, totally different feel. I just feel better. You know what I mean? I feel better. Trying to grow my hair out. Trying to hold on to like whatever hair I have left. Because
I can still see your full hairline from here. So you're like,
it's going, Crystal. I'm like holding on to it I'm like holding by strands. So we'll see.
I love it. Well, if you need to be bald, then whatever.
Right. Exactly.
It is. We'll take that journey when it comes. We'll have another interview about your hair.
Yep.
But where are we going from here? So we talked about a lot, but what's the future look like for Jose Torres?
You know what? I'm going to see where this journey takes me. I have other projects lined up. You know what I mean? I have like 2 other feature films. I really believe in City of Honor. I think a lot of people, I think it's going to be out there. I think it's a good product. I think it's a great show. Hopefully it resonates, and again, it's like, it's crazy because my passion behind this project is, the lead detective, right? The hero of the story is a Puerto Rican guy. And you don't see that. The last time that there was minority stars of a law enforcement show was Fox's New York Undercover, right? That's a fact. It was, African-American and Hispanic guy. Now, we really haven't seen that. Chicago PD and all these things, they have multiple characters. But to have a, like I said, as a Latino lead, this is very powerful. I do feel a little bit of pressure. I want it to be successful, but I feel so much in my bones. And like, you know what I mean? Like, when you feel it, you're like, man, this is going to hit. This is going to hit.
Yeah.
So that's what I feel. So, I'm going to follow this journey. Again, as I said, I have some seeds planted for some other projects with some other influential people. then we'll just see where it goes. You know what I mean? We'll see where it goes. So I'm
I'm
excited.
here
I'm
for it.
excited.
I'm here for it. My passport's ready. This all started because you said you needed a writer, but then
Yeah.
I went and like,
Yeah.
always I'm starting a new project. I'm like,
Yeah.
come on, we're gonna multitask
Yep.
here.
Yep. Yep.
Which is fun because now there's gonna be an article that gets published after this, somewhere else because I'm gonna take all this and work my little magic. But
Absolutely.
anything I didn't ask you that you really want to talk about?
No, we're good. Like I said, just tell everybody we've got to watch out for City of Honor when it hits, and then we'll have some other big announcements that'll be coming out probably the next 30 days because I'll probably be making my announcement about my next feature, and then like I said, we start filming Killer X, so it's like there's a lot of burners going,
I'll
right
tag all your accounts and everything so people can follow you.
Thank you.
Give me a song. What's your come out of the gate song?
Oh my God.
Or something that inspires you.
Oh my God. You're gonna laugh because we were talking about doing like theme songs and like some other things, and I know he may be controversial. Some people like him. Something I love Kanye. I think Kanye's music is awesome. But he had a song called Power, and Power was a really hot beat that kind of pushed, and it kind of set the tone. Yeah, that's kind of the direction that I'm going right now. You know what I mean?
I always tell people I've known Kanye. The only time I've seen Kanye in concert was when he opened for Usher.
Oh wow! Wow.
So I get it. Kanye's music, I understand. Yep. Listen, that's a different conversation for another day, but I feel the same about a couple other people we're not supposed to listen to.
Right. Listen, man, he's you know what I mean. He's a genius. He's a musical genius, and blessed in our time to hear that. Plus some other ones. You know what I mean? I mean, there's some great artists, but yeah, I would say kind of Power is that's the track that's playing.
I can feel it. That's the energy you're giving.
Yeah.
I'm picking up what you're putting down. Well, thank you so much. And I can't wait to see where this goes. I'm proud of you. It's an honor to be your friend.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for everything.
All right. See ya.